so many new pieces to this IU football team.
To me, that's going to set the tone on how you get ready for games on Saturday in the fall.
I would put that Indiana room up against anybody else in the conference, and that's something that we typically don't even come close to saying.
If you want to get total sickos committee about it, there's a position battle at long snapper too.
This is the Hoosier Huddle Podcast, part of the College Huddle Podcast Network.
Good evening, Hoosier fans. Happy Labor Day. We're recording this, our first edition of After the Dust Settles for the 2025 season. 1 day late. I think everybody's kind of 1 day late with the holiday schedule this weekend, but Indiana knocks off Old Dominion 27-14 to open up the 2025 season. Lots to like, lots of things to clean up. I think it's very similar to the opener from last season against Florida International, which I think we'll cover. I was down there, had a great time, as I always do. Always fun to go down to Bloomington and leave with a W. So again, lots to probably clean up. I'm sure the staff has already been after that all day today. Will probably be a pretty fun week of practice for a lot of the guys, especially the outside linebackers and the edges. But overall, lots to like, Nate. But like I said, Indiana starts 1-0, which I think is the key.
Yeah, that's totally the key. I think we kind of got to the end of the game, and I had said in our group text, it felt like the exact same kind of feeling that I had after we watched FIU, the opener last year. Just kind of felt like they were in control the whole time, but weren't really ever just going to step on the throat. There was definitely some things that still need to be figured out, some things that in film I think will really stand out as things they can improve on in the future. But I think in general in college football this week, and I think we'll see it just in football in general at the very beginning, I think we all kind of forget how sloppy week one or very early into the season football looks. And you can kind of watch every single game and you can get swept into the hype, or you can think about football for the last 300 plus days since you last saw it. And the last football that you saw was all, it was the playoffs in the NFL, or it was the playoff in college football. And it was all the best teams, and they've all gelled. They've played for weeks together. And then you go all off season and you've watched highlights, and only, in highlights, you don't see the sloppiness. You just see the great play. So then you finally get to week one and you're like, wait, this isn't what I've been watching for the past 200 days. And you kind of realize that it takes a while for all these rosters to mesh together, especially in this age when you've got so many transfers, so many new bodies, new coaches, all this kind of stuff. It's just not going to look like a finished product at the very end. And I think that's where we kind of left things on Saturday after the win. And the most important thing was we left it after a win.
Yeah, no question. And I think, a lot of stuff has come out since, the game has ended. So like S&P Plus and all the advanced metrics, kind of win probabilities. I think the big story for the game for me was IU dominated the game, comfortably won. I don't think the game was ever really in danger, even after, of course, the first play from scrimmage, which was a great way to start the season. Then you come back, don't score on the fourth down, and then the next drive you go right down the field again and fumble. So I think that kind of sucked a lot of energy out of the crowd, which was a bummer. I'll talk about the crowd a little bit later, but yeah, I think like this was a game IU statistically dominated. So kind of just some quick team versus team stats here. IU had 30 first downs to Old Dominion's 10. Ran for over 300 yards, 309 yards on the ground, only lost 10. Threw for 193, which again, we'll talk about, and held Old Dominion to 96 passing yards. So, I mean, IU puts up over 500 yards of offense, runs 89 plays to Old Dominion's 45, dominates the turnover battle, only had 3 penalties, 2 of which were on interception returns. Old Dominion had 9 penalties. And overall just played, for the most part, a really clean game, besides probably 2 plays. Brendan Franke, new kickoff specialist, was 6 for 6 on touchbacks, which was like one thing I definitely noticed, which is a nice improvement. Jonathan Brady, of course, starts the scoring for the season with the 91-yard punt return touchdown, which was awesome. Nico Radicic was solid, and then Frankie had that one off the crossbar to end the first half. But all in all, I think special teams play was really, really solid as well, which is something you always like to see in week one. Really looked like a well-oiled machine there. But statistically, I think a dominant game. And of course, as we're in college football playoff discussions and the Big Ten, SEC, ESPN, media, SmackDown every week, it seems now, probably no style points in week one, but I think a comfortable win against a group of 5 team that I think will play really well in the Sun Belt this year, I think is a fine way to start the season. So that's kind of where my head's at. We'll get into letter grades and all that stuff later, Nate, but I left, I was a little probably salty leaving the game. But this is why we do this a day or two after. I do feel better about it rewatching some of the game and kind of just looking at the box scores and stats and all that stuff now.
Yeah, I think I left it at least. I think there's still a lot of positives. I think you mentioned we can go through some grades and stuff of where we think the different units kind of graded out, but I think we definitely saw some flashes where I can see some improvement over last year. And then there's spots where probably a little bit weaker, but just kind of need to understand where some new guys are going to fit in and how they're going to step into those roles to kind of fill the shoes of last year and just kind of understand how this roster is going to look. And I think one of the nice things that we have with this beginning non-conference schedule is we can continue to kind of get our footing over these next 3 games. And then obviously have the big one against Illinois a few weeks from now. So can kind of still get our footing and figure things out by then, hopefully.
Yeah, I think, again, this is why they designed the schedule this way. So say whatever you want, but I think winning against a solid group of 5 team, like already in the S&P Plus, which I know is now an ESPN thing, but it's still, I would say, pretty metrics based. Old Dominion's right in a grouping now with like Northwestern, UCLA, Purdue, Rutgers, like those kind of teams. So week one, of course, and those will change over the course of the season, but by no means was this kind of a total slouch like we saw some other teams across the country play and some other Big Ten teams play. But Nate, I think we'll start. Fernando Mendoza was obviously the headliner of the offseason for Indiana. Comes to IU after a pretty successful little run at Cal there. A couple days before the game, CBS Sports puts out an article with him as like the projected number 1 overall pick, all this stuff. The hype was definitely there, and I think you saw the flashes, but I would say Mendoza was fine, and he said so after the game. He said it was not up to his standard, and a lot of guys did a lot of good things that he necessarily didn't help them execute. So overall, though, I think it was fine. He was 18 of 31, just under 200 yards, had some nice read options where you saw the mobility and that rushing touchdown in the first half. But overall, Nate, what did you think of Fernando? I thought overall it was fine, but curious what you thought.
Yeah, I saw enough to be happy with who we've got, and I think he's still. I don't know if he's going to be the number 1 pick next year or anything, and I didn't know if that was necessarily going to be true even when we before we had started this game. But I think he was solid. He hits that one pass to Omar Cooper. If Cooper catches that, I think the stat line looks a lot better. There's probably less concern. It might also just free him up a bit. I think in general, I came away very impressed with just the pop of his arm. Like it, I remember when we were both in school and we went to practices and we saw Penix for the first time. There's just kind of like a different level of arm talent that just stood out. And Rourke was extremely accurate last year. I absolutely loved Curtis Rourke as our quarterback. But I think there's just a different level of I can throw a heater, I can throw a fastball at a different level than Curtis Rourke could. So I think Rourke, at least by the end of the season, had a better idea of when I need to pull this and carry it myself. He was probably better at making the reads off the read option, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's something that Mendoza can continue to figure out as the season goes on and as he develops more chemistry with receivers. The main receivers that we thought coming in, Cooper and Surratt, it really was EJ Williams seemed to be the one that he had the biggest connection with, which I was a little surprised with. But if you told me that EJ Williams was going to be a great contributor and was going to have a great connection with Mendoza, I think we think that's a great thing because we didn't necessarily know how he was going to fit into this team, and he played really well. He had, as you flashed on the screen here, 5 receptions, 45 yards, more receptions than anyone else. Surratt had 3. He didn't have a target going into halftime. Cooper had 2. Obviously should have had that third, but I think if we have a third receiver threat that we feel pretty confident in, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, agree. I think my big takeaway from the offense, and we'll get into the running game and the offensive line probably next here, but I just thought it was very vanilla, probably by design in week 1. Like, by no means am I an X's and O's guy, but by my naked eye watching the game, on IU's sideline, it seemed like they ran like 11 different plays. Like, I thought the run game was just a lot of sweeps, a lot of stuff up the middle. The passing game was quick out, some of those deeper crossing routes. They ran the flea flicker at the end, which I thought was kind of odd.
Very random, but
I think that was kind of like, I'm going to put you in a spot. Let's execute a play so we have something to go into next week with, or maybe to just put something on tape. But I thought that was an odd time to pull that one out. But that was a good play for Surratt there. I just thought the offensive play calling was very vanilla in general. I thought that was probably by design, and I think that's why we saw some of the red zone struggles that we did. Sure, you'd like to be able to move Old Dominion's line on the interior. It doesn't really matter, though, if they're blitzing 8 guys right up the middle, which is kind of what they did down tight down there. So I'm not very concerned with the passing game. I thought you saw what you wanted to see from Mendoza. That arm talent is there. Like, he gets the ball out really quickly. And there were no throws, which is my thing. Like, Rourke last year, even in the opener in the first couple of weeks, but not removing Western Illinois, but there were a couple throws where it was like, what the blank are you looking at? Or what was that throw? There weren't really any of those for Mendoza. I think there was one tip ball that could have been intercepted, but there was not any just pure, like, terrible reads, or I didn't see the guy in coverage, anything like that. Like, he missed some balls. He threw some high balls. But nothing for me that I was like, okay, like, little red flag there. He's not seeing the defense, anything like that.
Yeah, and I think it was great to see that he's got that mobility too, because it's obviously something we didn't have last year, and it's something that I watched all Saturday long and even into Sunday, and we'll see it later today, of just having that ability, or just having the defense have to have in mind, like, oh, this guy can scramble too, like, he can get out of the pocket and make plays. It's just another thing to have to cover on defense, and makes the offense trickier to cover. So I like that addition as well.
Yeah, and then my last kind of thought on Mendoza, like, deep balls were great. I think, Cooper with that crazy drop, like, he won't do that again this season. He followed it up with the nice, like, contested catch with the defensive holding later in the game, which was great to see. LeBron Bond, I thought that was a really nicely thrown deep ball. I don't know if he pulled up or if it was just slightly out of his reach. Like, that's a timing thing. That's not an execution or a read thing. Like, play was great. Route was great. That's something they can clean up. So again, I'm not terribly worried on a lot of that stuff. And then we didn't see a lot of the same stuff we saw last year. Like, there were no back shoulders that I can remember. There was the one in the end zone to Surratt that was kind of a weird play, weird throw. I don't really know what that was. There were no RPOs, like where it was the halfback dive with the slant across the middle. Like, a lot of the stuff that we saw Rourke just feast on last year, none of that showed up on Saturday. So that'll be interesting to see if that's like a new schematic thing with Mendoza, or if that's just, again, like, we are putting nothing on tape for the Illinois, Iowa, Oregon gauntlet, which by all accounts really will kind of determine the trajectory of the season. So yeah, I just thought offensively it was very vanilla, probably by design. But again, for me, there was nothing. You'd like to punch those in the red zone, of course, but there was nothing for me, especially with Mendoza, where I was like, okay, I'm worried, or that's like, sirens are going off on my head, anything like that. So, and then the last thing I'll say on Mendoza, Cal's offensive line was atrocious. Pass blocking, graded out, and advanced analytics. And just if you watch some of their games, IU had a really, really strong day up front on the offensive line, which we'll talk about next, Nate. But it seemed like to me, especially in the first half, like, Mendoza on some of the balls he threw high, like, was surprised he had such clean pockets. Like, he had happy feet a little bit. Like, you could tell he was like, the back of his head, he was ready to start running, because that's what he did for 2 years at Cal. So second half, he cleaned that up. I thought those deep balls to Cooper in the second half, and then that flea flicker to Surratt, like, those were great throws. The Bond throw was, to my eye, a great throw. So it just seemed like his feet were a little sped up in the first half, where he was honestly anticipating pressure or anticipating him having to get out of the pocket. So again, that's something you can clean up. You can't clean up. Yes, we have really good skill players, and yes, he can really throw the ball. Like those are things you either have or you don't. We have those. So lots to clean up. But I just
And I think
thought
that's
that was one
a
thing
mental
I
thing.
noticed. Yeah. Not as obviously I never played football, but I also never lost a game playing football. And not a coach, not an X's and O's guys, like of course, but that was one thing I thought I noticed was that you could tell he kind of sped himself up a little bit on some of those clean pockets.
Yeah, I mean, I think we even saw it at the end of last year when we had some offensive line injuries. You could kind of see at the end of the season, Rourke would have a little bit of like, oh, I need to get this out fast because I'm not going to have as much time as I did at the beginning of the season. I think that's just a mental thing that quarterbacks have to go through. And I'm sure for the past couple years at Cal, when he had a mental clock that only gave him 2 seconds, and now he gets here and he's like, oh, wait, maybe I have 3.5. Like that's a big difference. And that's something that he hopefully can get more comfortable behind. And we mentioned that offensive line. The pro PFF grades came in. All but Khalil Benson were over 80. So Carter Smith, 86.5, Drew Evans, 90.2, Coogan, 82.1, Bray Lynch, 85, and Benson, 76.6. And that is for pass specific blocking grades, all extremely good. Out of 130 teams that have taken the field so far, Indiana's tied with SMU for the nation's best pass blocking grade. So something that I think we will get some more confidence into Mendoza in the future, and know that he has the guys up front that can block and give him some time to scan the field, get through multiple reads, and deliver it more accurately.
Yeah, thought the offensive line was really good. Benson, I noticed a couple times, and he was just mauling dudes in the run game. Like couple pancakes.
I was surprised to see Benson's pass grade as the lowest, because in the run game, he was getting downfield.
I know. Like I noticed that. I was sitting probably row 50 or something on like the press box side of the stadium, and like multiple plays, he had a guy down behind the line. He was like moving dudes down the field. So that was good to see. Like he looked sweet with the neck guard too. So that's bonus points, I feel like, for an offensive lineman. But that was good to get him back. He looked good. I thought offensive line looked really good. No real like protection busts, I would say, especially in the passing game. But it was tough. Like I think Old Dominion kind of picked up on the fact, especially down in the red zone, that we were kind of just gonna pound it up the middle and see what happens. So they, I think, adjusted pretty nicely to that. But yeah, overall, IU ran for 309 yards, like I said, which is
ninth nationally.
Awesome. Yeah, which is awesome. Second time they've done that in the Signetti era. First time they've done that in an opener, I think, in like 10 years. I think they tweeted out today. But really impressive. And the three-headed monster at running back, which we kind of talked about all offseason, made itself, known. I think people noticed that in week one. I think we definitely noticed it. Outside of Lee Beebe Jr.'s fumble in the first quarter, all three guys were dynamite.
Yeah, I felt like I never really gained a preference of like, oh, I want Himby in here, I want Black in here. I loved when either of them were on the field. I loved what I saw from both of them. I thought we might go away from Beebe for a while after that fumble. But he did make up for it. He had a great block on special teams, kind of helped free things down the field for Brady's punt return. So that was awesome to see, kind of wash it and continue and to play, one play at a time, as Sig always says. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I really liked what we saw from all three running backs. Ultimately, I think one thing that I'll be interested to see, and again, this goes to kind of the vanilla play calling, is one thing that we talked about all offseason is we thought we would see a little bit more of the receiving game from these running backs. We didn't necessarily see that this week, but I could also see that as something they just don't necessarily want to show at this point. Just, make people think that they're just a run threat, and then hopefully later on kind of say, oh yeah, also they can do this.
Yeah. I thought they were all good in pass protection too. Kaylon Black, like he lights dudes up when he is pass blocking. So he's been awesome at that since he's been at IU. He did great at that on Saturday too. So that was really encouraging. I think all three guys have slight differences, but overall pretty similar. Kaylon Black had the touchdown, which was a great run. That was one that they punched in down there. That was really good to see. It would have been nice to see, Kobe Martin or Quono, the freshman, get in, but obviously it was not the margin you probably would have hoped for to get some of those guys in. But that I thought was really good. Last thing on the offense before we kind of switch, Nate, I do want to talk about the receivers one more time. You mentioned it. EJ Williams kind of started the game strong. Really was the focal point, I would say, of the passing game in the first half, which was great to see. That nice crossing route. I think it was like a 15, 20 yarder, great catch on a slightly high ball. So that was good to see him get involved. And then Cooper and Surratt, to your point, no targets for either of them in the first half. Again, I think that's exactly what we've been talking about. Like, they're not going to come out and force feed Surratt, our 8 best routes to start the game against Old Dominion. That's going to really not do you any good, as teams can scheme for that later in the season, especially in starting week 4. But I thought it was good. But behind the 3, I thought it was interesting. Omar Cooper played a ton in the slot. He got open on both of those deep balls from the slot, which was kind of cool. But it was EJ, it was Surratt, Cooper in the slot. And then behind them, it was kind of LeBron Bond, Jonathan Brady, and Charlie Becker, which I thought was interesting. Bond and Becker both had their first career catches, which was really cool. Brady had 2 grabs. Holden Stays had 1. Nowakowski had 2. So, 9 different guys caught passes, including Roman Hemby with 1. But I thought the receiving rotation was interesting. Like, we did not see Mekhi Jackson. Neither of the other 2 freshmen saw the field. It was a probably smaller group than maybe we expected to play.
Yeah, I think the slot is still a little bit of a question mark for me. I don't know if LeBron Bond or even Cooper, it feels like he's a little bit too big of a body, I think, to play there all the time. You wouldn't be getting everything that you possibly could out of him if you've got him lined up in the slot all the time. But he did look pretty comfortable there, as you mentioned, got open a couple different times from that position. LeBron Bond, I hope, it seems like he's going to be one that we're going to be relying on after the Tyler Morris injury, the ACL. Yep. So he's out for the rest of the year. So yeah, I think I did pick up also. I was kind of surprised that it felt like we talked about Nowakowski is probably going to be more of a blocking threat, but he definitely made himself available in some passing downs and caught 2 balls for 15 yards. So I thought that role might kind of lean a little more towards Stays, but happy to see Nowakowski get involved like that too. And that man is built. He is
big dude.
He's a brick. Yeah.
It was fun to watch that. Like, didn't really work, but that jumbo pistol formation was a new one we didn't see last year. You had Nowakowski and Bamba in as like the blocking tight ends, kind of both as like wing backs or fullbacks, whatever you'd call it, with the running back behind Mendoza. So that was a new, like, interesting wrinkle. And if Nowakowski can give you anything in the passing game, I think it's a bonus, especially if he's in the game and teams are expecting, high likelihood of a running play. If he can split out or you can get him going in the play action game, that could be kind of interesting. But I thought that was interesting. It was good to see Becker get a catch. He was like a special teams ace last year as a true freshman. So it was nice to see him get on the field and make a catch. LeBron Bond, I think the speed, you could see it. He had 1 nice catch, and then that deep ball, that was right in front of me. It looked really, really good. I don't know if he slowed up at all or he lost it in the shadows or something, but I think that's one they'll clean up, because you could tell, like, he's, again, you can't clean up whether or not LeBron Bond is fast. You can clean up the timing on the deep ball. Overall, I thought really solid for the offense. Any final thoughts there, Nate? As I think they'll look to Kennesaw, who plays probably more of a traditional defense, to work some of the kinks out. Yeah,
I think final thought would be we definitely leaned on the run game in week 1, and I think that was very similar to what we saw in week 1 of last year. I'll be interested to see if we kind of switch things over and challenge Mendoza a little bit more to do things himself and kind of lean away from that running game back into the passing game in week 2, just to round things out, and then probably see a little bit more of a balanced attack in week 3. But overall, I didn't see anything that like majorly concerns me. All seems like things that we can figure out and continue onto the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely agree there. Okay, switching to, let's do special teams really quick. I thought, we'll go quick, but again, I opened the show with a little love for the special teams. I thought they played a really solid game. Kickoffs, so Brendan Franke transferred from Texas State to be the kickoff specialist. 6 for 6 on touchbacks, which was great. All really, really strong kicks. That was an area IU struggled in last year. Some nice punts. Quinn Warren had a nice punt at the end of the game too. Nico was solid. The kicking operation I thought looked really good. Frankie had the one off the crossbar at the end of the first half, which I think was right around 50 yards. I'd like to see Nico kick those, but again, it's week 1. I'm sure they want to try a bunch of stuff. I'm sure they wanted to get him a look if they could, just in the field goal kicking game in case you're going to need him later. But overall, special teams was great. Obviously, Jonathan Brady kind of reignited the crowd. I think kickstarted the offense and the defense with this 91-yard punt return, which was amazing. That was the first punt return touchdown for Indiana since EJ Williams returned one against Idaho or DJ Matthews. Sorry, not
Yeah,
EJ
DJ Matthews in
2021.
2021. Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, night game against Idaho. I was like, that would have been quite the time loop there. But yeah, so special teams I thought was really good.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything else specific to add there. The only thing I would add is we will definitely miss this. This kind of expands, I think, out further than just special teams. But Bryson Bonds was announced out for the rest of the season. Seems like a knee injury. I think he had a knee brace on and was on crutches at the end of the game. Definitely has made a lot of plays on special teams for the past couple years. I think I saw somewhere he has the most snaps on special teams for Indiana the last 2 seasons. So definitely will be one that we will miss. And especially with, I think one of our concerns that we'll probably talk about on the defense is just a little bit thin at safety at this moment. And that obviously takes away another body there. So
yeah, well, I think let's just start there. Lots to talk about on defense, but yeah, Byron Baldwin, who I thought a lot of people are really excited to see him play, 4-star true freshman, who by all accounts had a really, really good spring and fall camp and is going to be a guy that, regardless of the Bonds injury, I think was going to be expected to play and contribute this season. He was out. He was the only guy that did not suit up in week 1, which was really good. Or I guess only new player, new injury that popped up that did not suit up in week 1. And then, Bryson Bonds goes down in the first half with a knee injury on a punt return. So don't know what that is, but they already announced him this morning out for the rest of the season, which is a huge bummer. 6-year senior, played a ton. He's a guy that's seen some terrible games and kind of been around for the turnaround. So from that perspective too, really bummed that he'll be out for the rest of the season. I don't even know if he'll get another year at this point. So, a bummer for sure. But I think safety play was good. Lewis Moore was his usual self, kind of finding the ball. He had an interception.
We talked about it last time we were on together. He just always he's always around the ball. I truly just look up and I'm like, oh, there's number 7. He found it again and had the interception off the tip or was it off the tip?
Yeah.
No, yeah, off the tip. Yeah. And it just continues to find himself around the ball at all times. And that was great to see. Baldwin, like you mentioned, I guess he was announced as day-to-day. We're not really sure what he's day-to-day with at this point, but one that I would like to see get in the next couple weeks because I think he's going to have to play a big role at safety going forward.
Yeah, Devin Boykin was good. He was the kind of guy that blitzed a lot, and it was interesting, and we'll talk about the defense as a whole in a second, but just the way Old Dominion lined up, their base package is kind of those super split wide shotgun formations where the receivers are way out past the hashes. That made it tough for IU to do, their blitzing and disguises that they've liked to do with Bryant Haynes. So I thought it was a good challenge, and that's why you saw those huge busts at quarterback, which we'll talk about. But I thought safety play was good. Lewis Moore now, I think, has like 10 days left on his temporary restraining order. So he'll definitely probably suit up against Kennesaw State on Saturday. After that, we don't know. So maybe we can get Ken Nunn on the case. But if you lose Lewis Moore now, I think it becomes a huge concern.
It's a very big concern.
I think it's a concern right now, even as it stands, assuming Moore could play the rest of the season. But if he goes out, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's one where suddenly you're going to have to be bringing more than 4 guys, more pressure than you probably want to, because you probably start to have concerns of whether or not your secondary can hold up. And again, I think this is a little bit. It might be premature because the secondary was incredible on Saturday, but it's one that you just kind of are projecting out, and you're seeing how thin they are, kind of rotating bodies, not necessarily sure how things are going to play out. And then you've got some injuries. You've got whatever Baldwin has. It's just we're a little bit hesitant to say we're confident there. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And it might even be time to start thinking about the corner rotation was super tight. Like Marion Knighton, who's a Northern Illinois transfer that came in. Northern Illinois played a ton of zone. So if you get in a position where you might have to move some of these guys, like he might be a guy that works in at safety. But again, a little too early. But I think you're approaching territory now where it's like one more injury, or if more goes out with the NCAA ruling, they'll definitely have to shift some things around. I'm sure they have a plan, but Bryson Bonds starting was probably not the plan either. So we'll see there. Like they still have Jaja Boyd, some other young guys I know they like, but we'll have to see what they do there. Yeah, defense, I think 3 picks. Secondary was really good, Nate. Pons had a pick off of a play where Kellen Wyatt dropped into coverage at the end and made it tough. And then he caught it off the deflection on just a D'Angelo Pons style play.
Yep.
Amari Farrell, my guy, had a pick. He had a great game. And then Lewis Moore had one as well. But yeah, secondary I thought was really good. You could tell, again, they held him under 100 passing yards, which I don't care who you're playing. That's a job well done. Yeah, hard to do, especially in week 1. But yeah, again, a lot of cushion, nothing really crazy from like a blitzing standpoint. I thought, again, very base, very vanilla, but secondary I thought was strong.
Yeah, and you gave the brief shout out to Kellen Wyatt. I thought that was an awesome play, and kind of shows the versatility that he has. He has some experience at linebacker at Maryland, also going to be lining up at D end, and just to be able to line up at D end, sprint out to that sideline, see the pass coming, get the tip, and then Pons always finds the ball. Yep. That was an awesome play. One of my favorites from the day, honestly.
Yeah, that was a great play. Like we saw Linnell Carr do that a little bit last season, especially at the end of the season. He'd kind of drop into coverage a little bit from that rushing position. So Wyatt, as like a former half linebacker, half edge guy, you could tell he was a little bit more comfortable out there. But he made that really tough. Colton Joseph, Old Dominion's quarterback, did not really process that. And Pons kind of the beneficiary there. So really solid. Defensive line was pretty good. I think outside of the 2 long runs, they did a really good job in the run game. I wrote this down, but I don't even know where it went. But I mean, their 2 running backs. So their starter had 10 carries for 32 yards. Their backup had 3 carries for 7 yards. Colton Joseph, their quarterback, had 10 carries for 183. 2 of those were over 75 yards. So I mean, if you take those out, you're looking at 8 carries for 40 yards, something around there. So really strong, really dominant. Old Dominion started the game with a 1-play touchdown, and they ended the game with a 70+ yard touchdown run again. In between that, Old Dominion throughout the game, Old Dominion did not run 1 play inside Indiana territory, and they did not have a drive over 6 plays the entire day. So I
believe they got over the 50-yard line at one point and then had a procedural penalty, so it bumped them back into their own territory. So
yeah, that was probably me screaming at that point with my towel pretty far away. But
yeah, I'm sure that caused it.
So I'll take that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought it was good. Rotation on the defensive line. I thought Landino played a little bit more defensive tackle than I was maybe expecting. But everybody looked good for the most part outside of the 2 busts, which I'm sure they'll talk about and I'm sure they'll clean up. It's not the last time somebody.
Did your heart sink when that first one happened? Like, were you like, oh crap, it's Indiana football again on that first play?
I was the only one, I feel like, in our group chat kind of like, I was like, flush it, like not a big deal. Even after the BB fumble, I was like, we gave up that awesome intro with Hoosier the Bison, who I want to talk a little bit about. Place was buzzing. Student section was awesome at the start of the game. And then that kind of just took the air out of the building. And then right after that, they scored literally 11 seconds into the season. We went right down the field and got inside the 10-yard line. So I was like, we're fine. Like we went right down the field, forced them to punt on the next drive after we didn't score, went right down the field again, and BB fumbled. So I was like, I feel like we already had 2 of the massive fluky plays that you needed if you're Old Dominion to feel like you had a shot in the game. And even after 4 drives and those 2 fluky plays, I was like, I don't think this is going to be a sweaty game. So,
Yeah.
so it was good. But yeah, defense dominated, honestly. Like, again, the box or the scoreboard does not look like they dominated, but all 3 phases, I thought IU like absolutely outclassed a decent test in week 1. So lots of things to like. But yeah, if you take you're not going to take those 2 runs away. That's not how it works. But the middle part of the game, like if you take away those bookend touchdowns, like the Indiana defense just absolutely mauled all 3 levels of Old Dominion's offensive attack. All 3 levels of defense played really well. And again, like there was nothing I saw that was like, oh, that was a new exotic pressure, or wow, look at all those crazy stunts, or we brought someone new in to like play a specific position. Like there was
Yeah,
no
I think it
wrinkle where I
once
was
again
like,
was pretty
yeah,
vanilla.
yep. And yeah, everybody played well for the most part. Seemed like they stayed healthy outside of Bonds. So a big plus for me.
Any Kamara concerns from you?
So that was one. I actually made this graphic, and I know we talked a little bit about it during the game. I thought an underrated offseason storyline was him switching sides of the defensive line. Obviously, he had a really, really good season last year. He was notably absent from some of those like preseason All-American lists and some of the Big Ten lists, all that kind of stuff. He was largely absent all game in his new like quote unquote position. One tackle, was not really in the backfield, didn't heat Joseph out. Like, if we didn't know who he was, you wouldn't really notice he was out there. And again,
Yeah.
maybe he was nursing something, maybe he was playing 75%. But for a guy that said he wanted to like set IU single season sack record, that was not necessarily the way to start that chase.
Yeah, I think that was one thing that stood out to me is if he hadn't said I want to set the IU single season sack record, I probably would have brushed this off. But I think it just kind of, along with how he performed last season, it made me come in with a certain expectation of what I was going to see. And if you're thinking about breaking records, often part of that will just come from kind of stacking up a little bit of stat padding at the very beginning when you're going against some foes that are just not up to your level.
Yeah.
And I didn't necessarily see it from him. I think that's probably the first game in now what it would be 14 games that we've seen him play for IU. I think that's probably the first one that I've ever really raised a concern about. So I think I'll lean on the 13 prior and say that he'll probably get things figured out. And, going at a new position, still figuring out exactly probably where he fits in along that D line. But it definitely was something that it raised a question mark, a little bit of a flag on my end, just to not see him have as much of an impact as I expected.
Yeah, I thought, again, I don't think we blitzed a ton. I'm sure he got, like, I wasn't watching him that closely, and I've not rewatched the game that closely yet. I'm sure he was getting double teamed and chipped a lot. Like, he's a guy you have to game plan for. Like, Wyatt was in the backfield a little bit. Stephen Daly was in the backfield a few times. Jose Wheeler had a nice game on the interior. Tyreek Tucker flashed to me. Like, he, not statistically, but I thought, like, looked explosive, looked stronger. Like, he had a good game on the interior.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just going off of, again, style points and stats, like a lot of people want us to go off. I think Mikhail was largely absent, which, again, I'm going to trust the staff. I'm going to trust him. They've absolutely earned that right. I'm not concerned. I was just a little surprised that he was not in the backfield, at least some on Saturday.
Yeah.
But we will see. Last things, I guess, on the stuff in between the hashes. So a lot of missed opportunities, which I think we've covered a little bit already on this show, but not stuff that necessarily concerns me. So I wrote 4 down. So I thought there were 2 defensive pass interferences in the end zone that were not called. Surratt, I thought, got held on one of them and tackled on one of the 4th downs. Omar Cooper on a 1st down, I thought, got tackled. The DB never turned his head around. If those both get called, you're looking at the ball on the 2-yard line with 1st and goal. You probably punch both of those in. Obviously, Cooper drops a perfect throw. I mean, you couldn't have handed him the ball any better. He's not going to do that again. Like he's too good. He had too good of a season last year. He's not going to keep doing that. Again, I thought LeBron Bond probably could have caught that touchdown pass. Maybe he lost it. Maybe slowed up. Not sure what happened there. And then one for me when IU really started to get the momentum. I thought they blocked a punt. It was then called running into the kicker, and the punter was like laying flat on, like he got lit up after.
Yeah, it's either roughing or it's a block.
That's what I thought. So it was like 4th and 9. So they called running into the kicker, repunted it, and then they pinned us back at our 10. So instead of having the ball on Old Dominion's 30, we were on our own 10. That was like a sneaky swing play for me where the game really could have got out of hand in IU's favor. Made no sense to me because it like clearly went sideways. So like I thought it was tipped. And again, like if you run into the punter that hard, like it wasn't a flop. Like they hit him.
Oh yeah, he was
either
blown
roughing
up.
or a block. So I'm like, that missed opportunity, missed call, whatever you want to call it. I thought like those were 3 potential or 1 penalty and 2 Alex penalties that I would have called that I thought easily could have given you 3 more touchdowns that of course are not accounted for in the 27-14 score. But that tipped punt, no flag, running, roughing, that was one that I think kind of got glossed over, but was kind of a sneaky swing play in the game. So that was an interesting one for me, but I don't know. What are you going to do? So again, I think in a 27-14 game, like you'll take that all day.
You tack on a few of those.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I would have called them, but I'm not on the field throwing flags. If I was throwing flags on the field, I mean, no one would want to watch that game. It'd be about a 9-hour game. But yeah, so those were, I think, missed opportunities, whatever you want to call them. I thought there were a couple plays, and we're not making excuses about the officiating and the score and all that stuff, but I thought those were 3 officiating concerns or things that popped up where I was like, that could have easily made this game a much larger margin. Okay. I was in the game about 45 minutes before it started. We always like to talk about the outside of the X's and O's and the team stuff. There was a lot of stuff I liked, and last year I was very complimentary of some changes they made. The tailgate on the south side of the stadium was back. That was really cool again. The B-Town Boulevard, I think they call it. The walk seemed like it had a good crowd. People were in the lots. People were having a good time. I mean, it was a beautiful day in Bloomington. Just amazing.
Yeah, I heard 8 rows deep at the walk, which is
huge. Looked cool. And then Hoosier the Bison came back, of course. He skydived and parachuted into the field. So they did a really good job hyping that up and showing him on camera as he kind of dropped in and landed on the field. The entrance was a 10 out of 10. I think the actual like suit, the costume is a 10 out of 10. I think it looks really cool. He's super furry, like looks tough. Like kids liked him. It seemed like he actually wore football pants, which I was surprised by pleasantly. I was expecting him to wear a basketball jersey and candy stripes for the first football games. That was nice to see. Walking around on Friday, though, and seeing some of the merch, like the logo, and I know people have ranted about it on Twitter, it is not good.
The logo is tough. I mean, it fed right into I hate mascots, so that was pretty perfect for me.
Yeah.
I think it was a screenshot from some merch posted at FAL, the golf course. Yeah. And that very quickly went viral of like, oh God, what is Indiana doing? Because it looks bad. But I will say I heard the loudest cheer of the day was for honestly Hoosier the Bison just parachuting in and making his entrance. And I do think it for a mascot, which isn't needed, it looks good. So
yeah, it's cool. Yeah, his motorcycle was cool. My gripe, if there's any marketing or game presentation people listening, I think his motorcycle thing should be closer to the start where the players run out. So he kind of like drives the team out. He like rode the motorcycle from like the 50-yard line to like 35. So he really didn't get to like rip it, like he should kind of run out with the team, like run out on his motorcycle. Motorcycle was sweet. Like he looked cool shooting the t-shirts out. People liked him. But the logo is not great. Like
Yeah.
being nice about it. Even on the towel, this is like a super weird cut that people might not understand. The towel, to me, it looked like a ghost logo, is what it's called. So basically, like if you're inverting a logo or an image to make it look better on like a black or white background, it doesn't invert the colors correctly. So like where he was supposed to be red was white, where he's supposed to be white was red. So that's like basically they just put it in a filter and said make it black and white, and then saw the shading is not correct. So that was the same case on a lot of the merch I saw on Kirkwood and around Bloomington. Like very inconsistent applications of the logo and styles where like the actual just his face didn't look right on a lot of it, which is like the techniques they use and whether it's embroidered and like all this like random stuff that a lot of people listening are probably like, whatever, dude. But then even like his horns on his face on logo, they tried to do it so it's like a shadow. So it looks off because like one side of each horn is white and one side of it's dark. They put them on opposite sides. So then when it's put on a shirt, it looks like it's not centered because the horn is like the outside of one of the horns is white and the inside of the other one is white. So it looks like it's off, which again, for me, drives me crazy, but most people probably won't care. But yeah, costume was awesome. They integrated into the game really well. So I think for like debut first event, it was like really, really well done. The intro was awesome. The motorcycle was sweet. Like he looked really good. He wore football stuff. So all in all, very positive. And the merch stuff, I'm sure they'll like address and have
Hopefully
a
they
bunch
can
more
figure that
styles.
out.
Hopefully
Yeah.
he'll be here for 60 years. So they'll have lots of styles and all that kind of stuff. But the like logo on the towel being like inverted kind of did not look good, at least to me. But again, most people probably won't care or notice. So that was good. Other game stuff. Intro video was good. Like people got into the game. I thought they did a good job with the music. Like they played music in between every play or like any dead ball, which is something I've been like yelling at the wall for like 8 years. So that was good.
I remember yelling at the wall about that
Yeah.
too.
So like they tried to keep the energy up. Like a lot of people left. Like sun was out. It was, some people would say it's hot, but it was like it's 80 degrees and we made the playoff last year. You should probably be able to sit through 4 quarters.
Thunderstruck was still there. Were you
Yeah,
surprised by that?
I was surprised. I was I think when we did a like winter podcast when they were apparently thinking about changing it, I would not have guessed they would have kept it the same. People liked it. It was good. Yeah, a lot of the in-game stuff was good. Like sound system, I know a lot of people on Twitter were commenting on that. Definitely needs an upgrade. So hopefully when they do that, they'll get rid of the scoreboard gap, which is my favorite thing. Griffin Gonzalez, I thought, did a pretty good job, like keeping the crowd into it, like as much as he could. Like the energy was just down overall. Like people were cooking in the sun. I'm sure, pretty hydrated from the tailgates. Yeah, music I thought was good. Like they tried to keep it going. I would love to see like and then the one thing I texted about, which I thought was new, and some people like if comment or tweet us, whatever, like if people noticed this before. But after IU like warmed up on the field as a team before they went in the locker room the final time before coming out, when they ran out, when they huddled, like IU cut whatever song was playing and played a different song to like get everyone's attention and like have them cheer the team off the field, which I feel like in prior seasons they kind of huddled and would like, go in to the, the strength and conditioning door, and the fans that sit there can notice it and like, cheer them on. But the whole crowd actually stood up and like cheered them on when they huddled, because they switched the music up and kind of called that out, which I thought was good. So lots of good stuff. Concessions ran great, for me at least. Everybody seemed like they knew what was going on, which was good. Beer in the stadium, awesome. So lots of good game day stuff. I wish they would have referenced the college football playoff or put up some sort of banner or something. It looks like they put a small plaque in on the south end zone, like that new kind of area. But I would have loved to see some sort of flag or banner or mention of it during the game. There was not really hey, we made the college football playoff last season, everybody should stand up and cheer. Maybe that's by design. Maybe SIG was like, do not do that. I don't know. But I thought it was kind of odd. There was no like rah college football playoff thing, at least to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised by that too. I thought it might be maybe Sig thinks it's like a Colts AFC South finalist kind of
Yeah.
thing, but I
Yeah.
think it's something you
Mhm.
you wouldn't get clowned for calling attention to.
No, they put up that little plaque. Like people see it if you go in on the south side, like by the B-Town Boulevard thing. They put up like a whole postseason thing. So a very long list of all of our postseason appearances. Um, and so 2025 college football playoff had a little plaque. I would have personally liked to see some sort of video or something, but again, maybe it was like week one. Sig was like, hell no, don't reference that, which that
Yeah.
I respect that too. And that definitely is a possibility. So
Yeah. You were there this week. I'll be there next week. So I'm intrigued to see. Haven't been since last year. So intrigued to see some of the new stuff and ready for an in-person game day.
yeah, so I guess that's a good time to transition. Final thoughts here, Nate. One on what you saw in week one, and then kind of quick thoughts on an old friend and Dexter Williams returning to lead the Kennesaw State Owls, who lost by 1 point at Wake Forest in week one.
Yeah, I think overall a solid, decent, not great performance, but one that is very reminiscent of what we've come to expect in week one of football, and definitely one that we've seen both years under the Signetti tenure. So Sig even said in his press conference today, it felt like it was Groundhog's Day. He was, very similar to what he felt last year. He called out the fans again. He was like, "Oh, they left at halftime again. Gonna have to start that again." So I think overall it's always good to come out of week one with a win. I think overall this win should look relatively good as the season progresses. It's not the most walkover of an opponent that we'll have in our non-conference slate. So definitely one that Sig is hyped up for the entire offseason of like, hey, we're gonna have to be in our A game coming into the game. And I think we saw that from the very first play that Old Dominion was going to come to play and hope to win. So I think overall solid. Looking forward to next week. Obviously, Dexter's return, and another one where we saw he's definitely dangerous with his feet. So I think it's another good test for the IU defense to kind of have to deal with that mobile quarterback, because it's something that we've seen throughout all the years that we've watched IU football is something that can definitely trouble our defense.
Yeah, definitely. So nothing really to add for me. I think I'm more in the positive camp after week one. I think you stayed overall decently healthy. Lots of fundamentally solid things and just outdoing a smaller team and a smaller school, which is something we've struggled with in recent years. So I thought that was good. Offense and defense both showed really strong signs and definitely some things to clean up, of course, which I think honestly is probably fine and maybe preferred in week one. That's something to have tape against and try to improve. But yeah, really excited for next week. I think IU right now is like 36-point favorites or something at home against Kennesaw State. That game will be on Saturday back on Fox Sports 1. Nate will be there. So if you see Nate, buy him a drink or one of the 12-inch Hoosier hot dog with bacon and all that stuff. I got it again. It was pretty good. But yeah, we'll have lots more this week. But again, Indiana opens the season with a 27-14 win against Old Dominion. We'll have lots more on the site this week, including game previews. We'll try to talk to some folks at Kennesaw State, and then predict and preview the matchup. So stay tuned. HoosierHuddle.com. We'll have all the latest for you there leading up to week 2. And then if you are watching this on YouTube and you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We have lots of podcasts. We preview the game with writers from other schools, so you get an in-depth look at who IU will go up against, press conferences throughout the week, all that good stuff. So Nate, thanks for joining, and we will have much more on the site this week.